Welcome to the Nourish Sensitive podcast, where I help highly sensitive, empathic, and intuitive women overcome lifelong struggles with food, body, and nutrition. I'm your host, Leah Tarleton, registered dietitian nutritionist, holistic health coach, mind-body nutrition expert, and fellow HSP, empath, and healer. At the Nourish Sensitive, we believe that sensitive women can only be at their best using their gifts to heal the world when they're nourished on all levels of mind, body, and spirit, in a way that is as unique as their sensitive soul. So get cozy, find your inner calm, and then get ready to transform your relationship with food and body forever. By the time this is over, I want you one step closer to loving food, loving life, and loving your sensitive self. Hello, friends, and welcome to the first episode of the Nourish Sensitive podcast. If you are already a member of the Nourish Sensitive online community over on Facebook, then you may have been expecting this episode. I recently announced in the group that I was going to start transitioning my weekly live stream videos into podcast episodes so that members of the community could access some good old-fashioned HSP nourishment whenever they have the time. I've been wanting to move towards this for a while because as a sensitive woman myself, I know how hard it can be to be on social media all the time, and I wanted to give my sensitive followers and community a chance to catch up on some of the practices and strategies that I teach on their own time off the stimulating social media and in the comfort of their home. So here it is. I am so excited to be bringing you this podcast episode, and I hope it's the first of many, many to come on topics all about mind-body nutrition, eating psychology, intuitive eating, body image, and digestive health. We're going to get into so much here. So I hope you love this format and will leave me feedback on this first episode in the Facebook group when you're done listening. So let's jump into today's topic. Today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics ever recently, and that is the highly sensitive person, and specifically why they need a unique approach to nutrition and health coaching. So just a little bit about me first, since you're probably asking, who is this girl and why is she someone who, is working on HSP nutrition? So I'm Leah Tarleton. I am a registered dietitian nutritionist, and I am becoming a certified mind-body nutrition coach through the Institute for the Psychology of Eating. And I started my business, the Nourish Sensitive, in just a few months ago, but have been on this entrepreneurial journey for quite a while. It's been over a year, and really came into my passion when I discovered that I was a highly sensitive person in addition to being a dietitian, and found my niche, found that nutrition and nourishment is an area that HSPs really can use help in and can really serve them in becoming their highest selves and empowering them in this world. So that's what brought me to this work, and I'm super passionate about sharing my knowledge in this area, helping HSPs become nourished, improve their nutrition, and just be their best selves. So, today's topic is really important for a few reasons. Highly sensitive people are extremely unique, and they have different needs than people who are not highly sensitive. But the problem is that HSPs are not always acknowledged, seen, and validated in healthcare settings or in coaching programs, which really makes it harder for them to get the care that they deserve and, of course, reach their health goals. So, the other important reason that this topic is my first episode is that highly sensitive people are at greater risk of struggling with health and psychological issues just as a population living in this modern society where everything moves very fast and everything is very go and extroverted. So I'm very passionate about working with this population, one that I identify with, and empowering them with my skills as an HSP nutritionist and health coach who really understands them and understands the challenges that they face. So in this episode, I really want you, if you're an HSP listening to this, or you're a woman who feels like she's sensitive and just isn't quite sure, I want you to walk away knowing that you not only need, but you deserve to be treated for the unique and gifted individual that you are, especially if you identify as highly sensitive. I also want you to know that you have the right to holistic, sensitively focused treatment and compassionate care and coaching and being empowered. You need to be empowered to ask for and expect that level of treatment. So let's go ahead and dive into the first conversation here. And first, we're going to talk about something obviously very important, which is what is a highly sensitive person? If you're reaching this podcast and you're curious, you've always felt like you were kind of sensitive and felt different from others in some way, were told growing up that you were highly sensitive, then this is going to be a very empowering and very validating listen for you. So, first, some basic definitions. So, the highly sensitive person is a term used to describe the innate trait of sensory processing sensitivity, and that's a bit of a mouthful. Sensory processing sensitivity, or SPS. And this trait was discovered by a scientist, a doctor named Dr. Elaine Aron, who did a lot of early research looking into sensitivity as a feature of natural biological environments. And it's really important to understand here that SPS is not a disorder, but it's an innate trait that you are born with. We found genetic links and or you were nurtured into it. So there's a little bit of discussion around whether you are born sensitive or you become sensitive through your life experiences. So it may be a little bit of both. Okay, so about 20% of the population is highly sensitive, according to the original research that was done by Dr. Elaine Aron, looking at her HSP scale questionnaire that she developed. So it's still a pretty rare trait in our population if you think about 80% of people not being highly sensitive. You might feel that you are pretty different from the people around you if this is a trait that you identify with. And maybe you felt that way your whole life. So it's incredibly amazing to find this trait and to feel heard and seen for the first time. High sensitivity as an inborn trait has been explored in hundreds of animal species, and it does exist in lots of different species beyond humans. So it's not surprising that humans also have this bred into our genetic history. And sensitivity does exist on a spectrum, so it can go from very low sensitivity up all the way to high sensitivity, which we would call the highly sensitive person. And really, sensitivity is everywhere and it's natural. That's the point here that I'm trying to make, is that if you are a highly sensitive person, you were born or became that way because it's part of our environment. It's part of our species evolution and it's totally natural. It's something that you should embrace. So, what are some of the key features of being sensitive? So, there are really four keys that I've pulled out of my own research, and that includes inhibited behavior, which means either being very sort of pausing to notice or very reflective, or it can mean avoiding what is already known to be threatening or lacking worth. So, just being somebody who really knows when to pause and reflect and when to avoid things that just don't serve you. The second key feature of being sensitive is that you're sensitive to subtle cues, both in your environment, in your social groups, and maybe even spiritual. I really believe that sensitive people have spiritual gifts as well. The third key feature of sensitivity is depth of processing. So whether that's conscious processing, where you're the sort of ruminating or thinking very deeply about things, or automatic, where you're not really conscious about it, but you're just constantly taking in information and processing it on some deeper level, even if you're not realizing that you're doing that. And the last key feature is heightened emotional, biological, or stress reactivity, including being easily distressed by too much stimuli, both in the environment, in the mind, and in the body. So it's all about being sensitive to stimuli. Okay, so moving on, sensitive people, SPS is an evolutionary trait that really advantages the species by promoting a greater sensitivity and awareness to all of life's experiences. So it's important that we not see it as a disorder or related to other sensory somatic issues like autism or PTSD or schizophrenia. HSPs are very gifted individuals. They're extremely compassionate, deep thinking, and I believe are here to heal the world. Therefore, HSPs should be empowered and they should be well nourished. And that is really my mission here at the Nourish Sensitive, to help you become your highest self with good nutrition and a healthy and empowering relationship with food and body. So, next, we're going to jump into why highly sensitive people need a unique approach to health and to healthcare. So, you know, HSPs, because they're very unique people, they need an approach that is holistic and understands their sensitive body, mind, and spirit. Now, what do I mean by that? So, HSPs have actual, real, tangible differences in their body, in their genetic profile, the way that they digest things, both emotionally and their actual digestion of food, sensory and feelings. They have differences in the mind as well. Research fMRI studies have shown differences in brain activation in HSP versus non-HSP individuals. They have an increased sense of self and intuition and moods that are very different from the non-sensitive individual. And they are also very different in spirit, the way they take in information, behave, think about, perceive, and simply exist in the world. So you're talking about a very complex individual that has a very different way of being and relating and existing in this world. So, whenever HSPs need help with their health problems, they really need a holistic approach that understands that. HSPs also need an approach to healthcare, health coaching that not only validates but fully understands their trait and their very existence, i.e., being a sensitive soul. So, if you are working with a health coach or a practitioner who doesn't believe that you are highly sensitive, you may run into trouble. On the other hand, if they believe you but don't work to educate themselves about the trait and understand the trait, their help may not be as effective. So it's very important that they not only believe that you are highly sensitive when you identify that way, but they also are working to educate themselves on what that actually means. The worst situation for an HSP would be if they worked with a health coach or a doctor or a practitioner who doesn't believe them, who doesn't believe in their sensitivity, and who also has no desire to understand it. I would say run as fast as you can from anybody who invalidates your sensitivities, as this can be very damaging to your health and your soul. So, in the research, they have shown that one of the unique parts of this trait is that in negative environments, HSPs will suffer disproportionately from non-HSPs, and in positive ones, they will absolutely thrive. So it's incredibly important that when you're looking for health services as a sensitive person, you consider you tap into your gut feeling about that environment and make sure that it's a positive one. Being sensitive is metabolically costly. It takes a lot of energy to run and to flourish in a sensitive body, even though there are also clear advantages. The truth is that the trait would not exist if it were not for these biological or evolutionary and societal level advantages that it affords our species. We are the healers, the canaries in the coal mine, the ones who feel the weight of the world on our shoulders, and that's a lot, but it's also our gift to the world. So this means that in a negative environment, one that's even slightly toxic or dysfunctional, an HSP is going to suffer disproportionately and not be as empowered to share their gifts as someone who's not quite as sensitive. And I would say that this has definitely been my experience in the healthcare system, both as a patient and as a practitioner. So I worked in long-term care in a nursing home setting, rehab setting as a registered dietitian, and really found that the way that our healthcare system runs does not really nourish or set me up for success as a sensitive person. So, in positive, supportive, nurturing, and nourishing environments, HSPs will thrive like you've never seen before, and they can truly use that healing to heal the world. So, it's critical that we set up our health offices, systems, and coaching calls in a way that empowers rather than destroys the sensitive soul to really go out there and do its work. So, before we jump into some of the nutritional differences, I just want to reiterate that HSPs have a unique mind, bodies, and spirit all the way down to their genes. These differences must be accounted for when you're working with an HSP's health, and it's not just a nice to have. Their coaches and providers understand and validate their traits. If they don't avoid negative environments, services, cultures, coaches like the plague, and stay focused on positive ones, they're going to struggle to be their best and healthiest selves. So that's super important. And finally, we're going to talk a little bit about three differences in the specific nutritional needs of highly sensitive versus non-highly sensitive people. And the first point here is to consider the masculine and feminine archetypes. So I've just found in my own experience talking with HSP women primarily that they benefit from finding greater balance in the intuitive feminine versus the information heavy masculine approaches to nutrition. HSPs are naturally intuitive. It's just part of who they are. It's literally built into their brain structure and their body chemistry. So, nutrition strategies or approaches that are extremely information heavy, protocol dominant, right and wrong dominant, or in any way externalizing for the HSP, meaning getting them out of their body, out of their intuition, could be detrimental. So this includes things like dieting, weighing yourself a lot, counting or tracking with like Weight Watchers or counting calories, heroic exercise, like really powerful power moves, supplement plans, detoxes, 30-day, whatever. All of this stuff can work for some people, but I've just found with sensitive women, especially, this leads to information overload. It leads to confusion, stress. It can lead to eating disorders, digestive issues. This kind of approach to nutrition really detaches the HSP from their intuition that really makes them great and at their best. So they need that different approach to nutrition. The second thing is that HSPs have unique biological differences that have to be considered when thinking about how to help them with their health. Right now, I'm writing a blog post on some of the differences between, or some of the connections between being HSP and having digestive issues. There are many implications for that mind body connection and gut feeling and gut mind gut connection that apply to being a sensitive person. We have differences in our digestive system. HSPs are also different in their body chemistry, so their hormonal balance, their levels of serotonin, dopamine. There are actual genetic differences here that have contributed to a different kind of body chemistry in the highly sensitive person. There are differences in their nervous system. So there have been shown in fMRI studies to have HSPs have higher activation in certain areas of the brain. They also have differences in moods and sensitivities to stimuli such as food and stress and environmental toxins. So it's so important when working on a health plan or a nutrition plan for an HSP to consider that they are actually different beings. They're different biological kind of people that need to be taken into consideration in that unique way. And the third thing with HSP nutrition is that HSPs flourish with nourishment rather than just nutrition. So a lot of women that come to me have been overwhelmed with all of the different information out there about what to eat and what's good for health and what's not good for health. And to some extent, this exploration of nutrition can be a really fun and interesting educational process, learning about all the different ways to improve our nutrition. But again and again, I see sensitive women needing a different approach, even though they try to go into it with the right intentions and they're just curious about this stuff. It's overwhelming. There's so much information and different opinions out there about what to eat, and it's just not well suited for the highly sensitive person, in my experience. It goes against our nature. We are much more flow oriented, intuitive, deep thinkers, and it's really hard to encapsulate that into some kind of diet or protocol, all of that information and all of that being and existing. Nutrition, the science of, the study of, the practice of, I am very well versed in. I am a clinical dietitian. I have a master's degree in nutrition and a bachelor's in dietetics, and I know all about that, but it's different from nourishment. As a dietitian, I thought, oh, I'll go to school and I learn all the science and all the study and everything about it. But I did find that that wasn't what ended up being truly nourishing for me as an HSP and as, you know, an HSP dietitian. The science and all the study didn't really lead me to where I wanted to go. And I think the reason for this is that HSPs need to be extremely on top of their self care in order to function properly. This is simply the metabolic cost of being sensitive, but it's okay. You can work on your diet, but you also have to work on nourishment. Where in your life are you needing more support? Where does your body need you to listen, to lean into? Nourishment is so much more than just saying you need to eat more omega 3s or you need to up your protein or something like that. Those are important questions, right? Am I getting enough vitamins? Am I giving my body the fuel it needs to thrive? But that's not the whole question. And so, nourishment is really what HSPs need to truly flourish in their relationship with food and be at their best. So, kind of wrapping up here, I hope this has been extremely eye opening for you as a sensitive woman, extremely validating and empowering for you. Um, and just to kind of summarize, HSPs, what exactly are they? It's not a disorder, it's an innate trait, it's a gift. We are the healers of the world here, and it's super important to start out with that whenever we're talking about health. HSPs need a different approach to health and need to feel validated and understood in their trait whenever they are being coached or guided or treated for any specific problem, nutrition or otherwise, that they might be struggling with in their health. And HSPs, in my work, need a unique approach to nutrition. They do not tend to flourish under some of the traditional ways that other people do. So it's so important that they get that and that they understand that there are differences between them and others. And that's really what my mission is here at the Nourish Sensitive. It's about embracing our sensitivity, nourishing our sensitivity in every way we know how, and just thriving so that the world can heal and the world can benefit from our gifts. So now I want to hear from you. Just if you're not yet a member in the Facebook group, go ahead and head on over there. It's www.facebook.com/groups/the Nourish Sensitive. Go ahead and join and check out the podcast discussion post that I'm going to pin to the top of the page and join the conversation. Let me know what you thought about this podcast episode, if you learned anything, or if you have any questions. And before we, sign off for this one, if you are a sensitive woman who's feeling inspired by this podcast and you want to radically change your relationship with food, body, and nutrition, go ahead and head over to my website at www.nourishedsensitive.com and book your free 30-minute discovery call with me. In these calls, I will take the time to listen with compassion and non judgment to your unique challenges with food and body and just help you go deeper into that. Together, we'll explore my 12-week Nourish to Flourish program, see if it's right for you, and no matter what, you're going to walk away feeling empowered and heard and seen as the beautiful, wonderful, sensitive woman that you are. So don't wait. Book your call today as one-on-one coaching slots are starting to fill up, and I just want whoever might need this to get their chance to chat with me. All right, guys, I hope you loved this first episode of the podcast. Stay tuned. I'm going to try and put out another one next week and hopefully weekly after that. All right, guys, signing off. Have a lovely, lovely, nourished day.